What's up, Internet? You're tuned in to episode 7 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where two best buds from different nations come together to talk about the wide world of video games. I am your host, Pete and Bessie, joined, as always, by my very good friend, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello.
Hello, Steve. I am real excited for this week's show. Between Life is Strange and Deathloop, two of my most highly anticipated games of the year, are out. I'm ready to talk about them. And, other things aside, at least in the world of video games right now, what a time to be alive. You know what I'm saying?
I know, yeah. Oh, and we were discussing, and we'll talk about it later on in the episode because Doc sent a question about it. I was all ready to play Eastward this weekend, and then it's like, nope, Deltarune Chapter 2 is dropping. So it's just like, okay, I guess we'll play that instead then.
And it's like, Tome's out. There's another one of the games we've been talking about just dropped. Like, there's so many games out in the
crazy
between the last 2 weeks and then the next 8. It's wild. It's truly wild. But first world problems, I guess, right? It's a good problem to have that there's too much appealing art for you to engage with. So I'm going to do my best to try to sell you on two of those games this episode because I think they are well worth your time. But before we get into that, let me just jump into some housekeeping. Of course, I want to take this opportunity to remind you that this episode of the FlipScreen Games Podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of September. Thank you so much for your support over on patreon.com/FlipScreenGames. Of course, they are Christopher Valenz, a.k.a. That Dot Guy, Zaid Ida, and Wakahula. Y'all are the realists of the real, and we appreciate your support over there. Speaking of Patreon, if you want to go and show your support at any level, you can get access to One More Thing, our Patreon exclusive podcast where we keep the mics rolling and we talk about what's going on outside the world of video games. I kind of just vented about how frustrated I am with Twitter on this episode, but we ended up having some fun with that discussion topic, and we got into some kind of goofing around on just, I don't know. What a weird...
I'm still mad with Bob from Texas. So,
okay.
Bob from Texas, if you're listening to this, I'm still mad with you.
Steve is fired up. So if you want to understand why Steve is so mad, you can go listen to this episode. And, of course, the best way to show your support. And we've got a bunch of different levels that you can go and get in on and get all kinds of cool perks and goodies, including getting early access to this and Nintendo Noise. So if you want to get the shows a day early, you can go show your support over there, as well as a bunch of other cool stuff. So go check it out. It's a great way to help us keep the mics on and, get a little bit of extra content or perks from us if you enjoy the community. If you enjoy what we're building here, it is the best way to come and help out. But if you don't have that money, no big deal. There's a lot of other ways you can help out the show. Remember, you can give us a like on your platform of choice. If you're an audio listener, we would really appreciate it if you'd head over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. It really, really helps the show get recognized by new listeners and get served to more people. And if you are an audio listener and have never checked out the YouTube stuff, head over to the YouTube channel. Give us a subscribe, like the video, share it with a friend, click the notification bell. Even if you don't plan on using YouTube, it would really be helpful if you'd go over there and give us a subscribe so that we can, see those numbers go up and try to get the show in front of more people and, get to a point where we can do more cool stuff for you. If you want to keep up with all the cool stuff we're doing, the easiest way to do that is, of course, to head over to flipscreen.games. That is our website where we have links to where we are on every single platform, including our Twitch channel, where every Thursday Steve and I are there getting together and streaming games with the community, with some of our other, content creator friends. It's a good time. This week, like I said, we're going to be streaming some Deathloop. We're going to be going in and I'll be showing off the game in the most spoiler-free way possible. I'll be upgrading some of my gear and doing some kind of just, fun runs. So if you want to see what the game is all about, you can go check out the VOD of that. It'll still be available when you're listening to this on Monday. And if you want to tune in for our next stream, like I said, every Thursday night, and that's another one of those Patreon perks. You can vote on what games we'll be playing over there. So good way to get involved. And then, of course, if you want to write into the show like a ton of people did this week for a myriad of segments, including our question block segment where we just answer original questions from you listeners, you can hit us up on Twitter. We are at FlipScreen Games, and we throw up a thread there every week, usually about our main topic, so we can kind of source some ideas there. You can come join the Discord, where we have 2 separate channels for both podcasts, and every week we kind of ask everybody to weigh in on whatever our main topic's going to be, to source more questions. And then, of course, you can write to us at questions@flipscreen.games and, get your thoughts right on the air. So that's enough shilling for now. Let's jump into the follow-up, I guess we'll say, to my review in progress for Life is Strange True Colors. Of course, I think I had gotten to about the halfway point in the game last week. I believe I was in the middle of Chapter 3 of 5. And I had very, very positive things to say about the game. Now that I have completed it, it's interesting because in the time period since we last recorded, I finished the game, it became my game of the year, and then I started playing Deathloop, and it had very strong competition for my game of the year in the matter of just a few days. But either way, it's still one of my favorite games I've played this year. I still think Chapter 3 is probably my favorite overall, but without getting into spoilers, there was some really crazy and exciting stuff that happened as the game kind of ramped up and then wound down. And I was definitely really, really satisfied with just kind of the overall arc. I think my one critique is that I felt like the very, very ending of the game felt a little anticlimactic, because you kind of have the big moment of like what happens, and then I kind of felt like I wanted a little bit more of an epilogue. Like I generally, Life is Strange games kind of end with a big decision, and then kind of like an epilogue that's like showing, giving you some idea of where the characters ended up and things like that. And that
so I can tell me why I ended up living in the house. And I was like wandering around the house, and you like call your brother and have a conversation and stuff. But that's all optional stuff, right? You don't have to.
Right. And in this, it feels like you have more decisions that you can make in the kind of middle of the game, but it felt like it kind of compressed back for the ending. And not that that was a turnoff or anything like that, but I was kind of like, oh, like, that's it? Like, I kind of was thinking we might get, like, 1 or 2 more scenes with certain characters, and where I was kind of left to make conclusions about where certain things played out. But there is a scene that does a really good job of kind of teasing some of that stuff. So it wasn't like I left it not feeling satisfied. It was just, like, it more like it left me wanting more, which is ultimately a good thing, I would say, I guess your mileage may vary on that, but I think I would rather a game be shorter and concise and leave me wishing that there was more to do than getting to the end and being like, wow, like the last 5 hours of that were a waste of my time,
I'm
something
the same.
like that.
Plus, there is some DLC coming, isn't there?
There is, yeah. I believe it is a prequel, so I don't know that it'll add additional context. I think it'll more fill in gaps between Before the Storm and this game a little bit.
Okay.
Because, I don't really feel like it's a spoiler to say, but I don't know. I guess I don't want to put that out there if... No, it's fine. This is public information. The extra chapter is about Steph, who is the character who I had said was a very minor character in Deck 9's other Life is Strange game, Before the Storm. And then this, she's like, is back in the fold as like an adult years later in this game. And I think it's
the DLC is going to be like her as a teenager in between the two games.
I think it's
like early adult.
I think it's bridging the gap between where we last saw her and then how she ends up where she ends up. That's my understanding anyway. I was talking about it with Asobi in the Discord, and I know I believe that was what he had told me the case was.
That's good.
But yeah, I'm really desperate for you to play this game. I would really love to do a spoiler cast about it, and I'm really glad that Asobi's been playing it, because it's been nice to have somebody to chat with about it, because he's the only person I know who's taken the plunge. But yeah, I really can't sing this game's praises highly enough, and I feel like I'm at a point where it's tough for me to talk more about it without spoiling things. So I think, if you're on the fence, if you wanted to hear my follow-up thoughts and think like it doesn't land the plane, I think it absolutely does. I think it's well worth your time. If you're an old Life is Strange fan, it's a must-buy. If you're someone who's been interested in picking up the series and jumping on and seeing what it's all about, I think this game is a great way to do that. So it is a hard contender for my game of the year right now. I think if it doesn't end up being my game of the year, it will probably be number 2. Based on how I'm feeling about it right now.
With number 1 is Deathloop. Does Deltarune count as can that be game of the year?
It definitely can. 2? I think so.
Okay.
I think those 3 games are going to be in a tight conversation for me.
But I still think, including, say, like Miles Morales, that was last year.
That was
but
last
what about
year.
Ratchet and Clank?
Ratchet and Clank would be up there. I liked this better than Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I still think you need to go play Psychonauts 2 at some point. And Skatebird came out today, so we've got to try that.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of games I still have to play.
That's the problem I've got. It's just like, I want to play this, but do I want to play this and then we talk about this again and people are just like, we've already spoken about that? Or do I play something new so we've got something fresh to talk about? Like, do I go and play Eastward?
Yeah.
Which I know you're not going to pick up. So
I want to, but Lord knows if I'll find the time for it, right? Like, between Deathloop, I still have stuff to, like, I had to put Mass Effect 3 on the back burner. Like, I don't even know when I'm going to get back to finish that now. And I'm
I think it's probably just going to, that's just going to have to be, like, beginning of next, no, because February's fucking slammed as well.
It's so bad.
The beginning of next year is usually, like, quiet, but I don't know.
It's tight.
I'm taking like 2 weeks off over Christmas, so I'm hoping I can catch up with some games at that point. And that seems so far away at the moment, but it's only like 3 months away.
Thank God, by the way. Like, I need this year to end so badly.
Mm-hmm.
I am like out of days off, and like it's killing me.
Yours resets on the calendar year. Mine used to reset on when I joined the company, so it was just like horrendous.
That's bad. Yeah, ours are every calendar year. And like I get a good amount of time off. It's just like you spend a whole year inside and you're like trips, visits with friends and all kinds of things. And then like going outside again, I got sick for the first time in a year a couple times, So
yeah, one of those was that illness. You'll have to listen to one more thing and make your own judgment.
Check it out. Yeah. But yeah, Life is Strange 2 True Colors is a really special game, and it was a game that on more than one occasion brought me to tears because I think the writing is that good. So
well, that's good.
Check it out. Yeah, well worth your time, I think. So yeah, let's jump into Deathloop. First impressions.
I'm so excited about this. I've got so many questions for you about Deathloop.
So
first of all, like, what the fuck is it? Because I've seen the marketing and it seemingly doesn't line up with what I've read. That it's an immersion sim. Its closest thing is maybe Hitman, but it's like nothing you've ever played before.
Yeah.
It's getting like 9s and 10s across the board. So give us the lowdown. What is Deathloop? How do you play it? What, like, is there a story to this game, or is it just say like you're doing these loops like a roguelike?
So the elevator pitch for Deathloop is, of course, this is the latest game from Arcane Studios. They are one of the studios in the Bethesda family, most known for Dishonored and Dishonored 2 and Prey. This game is very...
This is from Lyon, so this is the Prey studio.
Yeah,
we were totally wrong when we spoke about it last week.
Yeah, when I booted it up, I was like, what?
Yeah. It's from the Prey studio, not from the Dishonored studio.
Yeah, totally wild. That was an absolute surprise to me. Because this game is very much, it has a lot of the DNA of Dishonored, just in a setting that I think is going to be probably more appealing to a mainstream audience. Because it's got this kind of like 70s inspired retro future kind of vibe to it. And like,
I love it, yeah.
It's got that like
Soul Bass, like like a poster for the movie Vertigo or something.
Sure.
It looks really, really cool. I love it.
Yeah, and like that creative vision carries through really well. Like the music, the environments, like it has a very special, unique feel to it. And the basic premise of the game is there are 2 different gameplay modes. There is one where you play as Colt, and that's the single player mode. And Colt is, without getting into too many details, right? The whole elevator pitch of this game is that you're on this island where there is this scientific anomaly that causes the day to start over again and again. And the implication that you kind of figure out very quickly is that everybody else on the island, except for you and the antagonist, whose name is, I cannot remember her name, Juliana. Juliana and Colt are the only two characters who retain memories from loop to loop. And even for Colt, it's like kind of not like he remembers some things, but not as much as Juliana. And Colt is trying to break the loop and escape it so that he can get off the island and, get back to real life. Whereas Juliana and everybody else on the island is trying to preserve the loop and make sure that it doesn't stop.
What's the motivation behind Colt wanting to go against what everyone else is doing?
I don't know yet. That's part of the mystery.
You haven't found that out? Okay.
No. And if you play the other mode where you play as Juliana, you invade other real players' games as Juliana and try to kill them.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
And that's a feature that you can toggle on or off. Like if you're playing offline, it'll be an AI Juliana who attacks you. But if you play online in your single player, like it's totally random. It's not like a thing that happens on a regular interval. I was playing for like 3 or 4 hours the other night, and it only happened to me, I think, once or twice. It's only happened to me twice the entire time I've played. Where like you'll just get an alert where it's like, Juliana's invading, and then she's just hiding somewhere and like coming to hunt you down. And why that's interesting is obviously, aside from the fact that there's another player who's trying to fuck with you, there's this like device that you can use to hack things in the overworld. So there'll be like turrets or cameras or like weapons and stuff that you can hack and take over so that they don't attack you and they attack other like the NPCs.
Okay.
But there's a specific thing that only spawns if a Juliana invades your game, and when that happens, it locks the door that you need to escape the level. So
you have to take out Juliana?
Well, not only do you have to take her out, you have to take her out and then go successfully hack this device, wherever it is on the map.
That's
so,
cool.
and the reason that matters so much, to take it back to one of your earlier questions, is I think calling this game a roguelike is not totally accurate. Like, it's more like a roguelite, or like it has roguelike elements. Because the way that that things work is there are 8 characters who are like the quote-unquote bosses of the game, right? And they're called visionaries. And the way that you break the loop and beat the game is figuring out how to kill all 8 of them in one day. Because you only have 4 time blocks where you can take actions. So like every day is made up of a morning, a noon, an afternoon, and a night. And if you die 3 times, the loop starts over. Or if you make it to the end of the day, the loop starts over. And the first couple times that you do that, you lose every single thing that you have on you. So like any weapons, any abilities that aren't the abilities that Colt naturally has are lost at the end of a loop. Unless there's one of the visionaries who's a scientist, and she develops this technology that allows you to take, I think it's called essence or something like that. It has a name. It's like a specific currency. And you can effectively collect that essence either by finding like random items in the overworld that have some of it. And it's basically like, the way they explain it is it's like the energy that's causing the loop. Like, is kind of just spilling out at the seams in certain places, and you can kind of collect it from, like, you'll see like a tire and it's like shining in this like multicolor rainbow, like it's radiating energy, and you can collect that energy, or you can kill certain characters and collect energy from them that way, or you can sacrifice items. So like there are a bunch of like trinkets that you can get that give you special abilities. Like some of them are like really, really important. Like one of them is like the ability to like turn invisible, for example. And that you can only get by either killing the visionary whose ability that is, or by killing a Juliana who's trying to attack you and has that ability. But the only way that
you get that you get that for the next run only.
No,
and then
so
if you don't
what happens is that currency that you collect, you can do this thing. I think it's called infusing, where you will infuse a gun, an ability, or like any other items that you have at your disposal, and then you'll keep them forever. So whenever you spawn with that item from then on. So like, say I got the teleporting ability last night, right? And that cost, I think, like 15,000 of this currency for me to keep it in the next loop. So what I had to do was collect enough energy in the field, or collect enough weapons or trinkets or whatever that I could sacrifice for that currency to make it so I can keep that ability in the next run. So like where I am right now, I have like the teleporting ability, I have the invisibility ability, I have an ability that lets me double jump, I have they're like all of the weapons have like a graded scale for how powerful they are. So like the weakest ones are gray, the middle ones are blue, rare ones are purple, and then there's like epic ones that are orange, right?
Yeah, the standard like Blizzard scale.
Yeah. And I have a purple gun that I got from killing one of the bosses, and I saved that. So now every time I spawn with 2 or 3 powers and that purple gun. But everything else I have, I lose. And whatever currency you have at the end of a run, if you don't spend it, you lose it. So it's like, It's very much about risk and reward of deciding like, okay, on this run, I want to go level up this ability. So I'm going to go kill this boss again, because if I have like the teleport ability, it can be upgraded, I think 4 times. So I have to go and kill him 3 more times and take his ability again to upgrade mine and make it better. So that's one thing that you can do. Or you can go and infiltrate, and there are what's known as like leads, and I think it's leads and then like clues or something else. Like there's like 3 different kinds of like information. That's the real way you progress, is every loop you can either like find new areas on the map, or you can overhear conversations with NPCs, or you can find like recordings or like notes. And whenever you find those things, you get a new piece of information that you can then use the next time you're in the loop. So like, for example, there's a mission early on where there's a specific item that you need to get, and you don't know where it is, but then you find out where it is, and you go there, and by the time you go there in like the afternoon or whatever, Juliana has already been there and taken the item. So then you know, okay, if I want this item, the next loop, I need to go there in the morning before she shows up there and take it. Or like
that's
I said,
like similar to, say, Overboard, where you have to get up to the deck to get something before someone else gets there. But all of that seems quite roguelike to me. So I'm curious why you say it's maybe not necessarily that's the right definition for it. Because in, say, Hades, for example, you do upgrade things, you do unlock new weapons, things like that. But there's obviously a lot more to this game. How fast-paced is it? Like, how long does each loop take? Is this, say, a stealth game or an action game? Can you play it as either? What's the like minute-to-minute gameplay like?
So you can definitely play it like either. I think early on, it's kind of hard to play it guns out because you're weak. But as you gain more abilities, it gets easier to just take people on and get in fights. And like in the first couple times I played, anytime I got in a fight, I was very at risk of being killed. Whereas now that I have this really strong weapon, like if 4 people run at me, I could just gun them down right away, you know? And it's like, I used to not be able to take out 4 people. Now I can, you know? So that changes. Like if I see that there's only 2 people standing together somewhere, I definitely just get in there and fuck them up rather than trying to hide or.
There's no like, what was it? Like, I can't remember what they call it in Dishonored, like a morality thing where
no, not that I've seen.
If you kill people, you would get like a bad ending or something.
Not that I've seen. That might be a thing later on, but from what I've seen, there's no non-lethal ways to take people out. You just escape and like get away from them. But you're not really
that was
killing
one of the
anybody.
things one of the things I didn't like in Dishonored, though. Like, all those rats would come at you if you hurt people, and it was like, ugh, gross.
I feel like it doesn't punish you as much for trying to play in a very chaotic way. Because it's kind of like you're not really killing anybody. Like, when you kill them, it's like they're going to be back in the next loop. So it's like, it's a little blasé.
So you finish it.
Yeah, and then I don't know what's going to happen. That's gonna be some whole other thing.
And then everyone's dead on this island.
So the reason I say that it's not quite a roguelike is because even Hades, I would say, is like a bit more roguelite than roguelike, because like it is all about progression. But I think the big difference between Deathloop and any roguelike that I've played is like I have had runs of Hades. I've had dozens of runs of Hades, actually, where there's like it's unproductive to do the run, right? Like you don't get any further than you've been before. You don't unlock anything new. Like it just is what it is.
Because it depends. Say if you've never played Hades, it depends like on what room you go in,
right,
or what skills drop, or what enemies you encounter. All of that.
There's a degree of randomness.
Yeah.
Whereas,
there's no like random in this. It's a fixed. Okay, so it's entirely scripted. So very much like Overboard then.
So like it'll be a thing where like, you know, like here's a good example, right? Remember I was talking about the scientist and I went and got the weapon from her where I could infuse things? On that mission, the first time I did it, this is one of the funniest things that's happened to me in the game. So in my first run, I had unlocked the double jump ability, which makes traversal a lot easier. The second time, I died and lost all my stuff. In the second run, I'm going and trying to kill the scientist and get this ability to keep my shit every run. But I get there, I do it, I get the item that I need, and then as I'm trying to go and complete the objective, I forgot I didn't have the double jump anymore, and I made a double jump and fell in the water and drowned. Because any water that's deep water, it's freezing, and as soon as you fall in, you just die.
So you can only get one ability at a time?
No, you can have two at a time.
Okay, but you didn't have the double jump because you didn't save it from the previous
I should say
run?
There's different kinds of abilities, because there are like character abilities. You can equip 4 of those at a time. There are weapon abilities. You can equip however many slots your weapon has, you can equip that many. So like my purple gun has 3 slots, so I can upgrade it 3 different times.
And that might be like a better melee attack or better range, or what kind of weapon abilities? Okay, cool.
It's definitely that kind of stuff. Or like your weapon has better accuracy at farther ranges, or it hits for full damage at the max distance, things like that.
Okay.
But then there are like the the actual like power abilities, and those are a little bit different. Like that's like the teleport, the invisibility. There's another one called Nexus where you can link people together, and like say I link 3 people together and I shoot one of them in the head, they all die. But like those you can only have 2 at a time. Per run. Or I guess per district, because you're allowed to switch your loadout in between missions. Because basically every mission is like I said, there's morning, noon, afternoon, and night. And each one of the districts, there's 4 districts, it's different depending on what time of day you go. So like there'll be different enemies in different places. There'll be different. Go ahead.
You just select the district then? You can just go, I want to go to this one. It doesn't say do this one first, then this one, then this one, and then you can go back around.
It recommends a order for you, but you don't have to do it. So like if you want to just follow the game's orders and like let it hold your hand, you're allowed to do that. But you have as much freedom as you want. But obviously, the more missions you take and the more things you're doing, the more stuff you have to lose and the more risk you're taking. So it's like there's a bit of that risk reward where it's like, like I want to go kill this person and get this item, but if I want to keep it, I need to make sure I have enough energy. So like I had that happen to me last night where I was playing and I had gotten a bunch of items I really wanted to keep, but I didn't have enough energy to do it. So I was like, oh shit, I only have one more, like it's already the nighttime. So I have to go to a map where nothing's happening, and it'll be easy for me to go kill a bunch of people and collect a bunch of resources without dying. Because otherwise, then I'll lose all this shit because I haven't infused any of it. So it's like, it definitely has the roguelike element, but I feel like the game is so about strengthening your character that like it's kind of taking that formula and turning it into something a little bit different, you know? Like, it's taking the roguelike stuff and putting it in the context of an immersive sim. Because it's still very much an immersive sim. It's still very much the thing that Arcane does best. It's just presented in a slightly different way because of the way that, you know, it kind of asks you to explore and break things down. I forgot to show the gameplay.
Oh, Pete.
I'm putting it up right now. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's good. It's good. Everybody can see it.
So
now.
how long do each of these loops last then? So you've obviously been playing it quite a bit. Is it just very variable based on how far you get, or is it, say, I go into an island and because there is that day, how long does each one of those days last? Like the morning, the noon, the evening?
So a run will last as long as you want it to, kind of. Because, like, if you die 3 times, like Colt's special ability that he just gets every time is that he can die 3 times before the loop resets. So you have 3 times before anything is really going to get in your way. But, like, in terms of advancing the actual time of day, it's only based on if you leave the map. So, like, say I go to the you know, we'll say the first district, right? So I don't necessarily remember all their names right now. But say I go to the first district in the morning, I can hang out there as long as I want. But once I exit, it'll automatically go to noon.
Mm-hmm. And then you can go back and it's noon at that place?
Yeah. And anything that you've done
cool.
will still impact the world. So, like, if I go kill one of the bosses in the morning, they're not there in the afternoon.
Okay, that's interesting. And so I guess there's basically 4 levels within each map because the enemies will be in different places.
Yes.
Juliana will probably spawn in a different area. She'll be up to something different. So that's quite a cool element. There's obviously a lot going on in terms of abilities and leveling stuff up. How does the menus take care of all that? Is it really clunky? Do you do that outside when you're in the kind of overworld section, so you're not really worrying about it minute to minute?
So it's actually pretty interesting. It weirdly, it is kind of a lot like Hitman in that way. Like it weirdly feels more like an online game. Because kind of I wonder if there's maybe in the video that we have up, if there's an example of it. I would love to show the screen. Doesn't look like it. Basically, there's this kind of like loadout. And it'll be like the first tab, it has kind of like an overview, and you can like set your loadout and be like, these are the guns I'm going to take into my next mission. These are the abilities I'm going to take into my next mission. That's also the space on the screen where you can do the infusions and be like, I want to save this weapon for the next run, or I want to delete this and get the points for it or whatever. Then there's another board that's like a kind of like you know, like when you see somebody like showing a narrative cloud for video game dialogue, where it'll be like a timeline and it's like, there's this dialogue, and if you make this choice, it goes this way, and if you make this choice, it goes this way. It's kind of like basic. That.
Yeah, okay.
And it has it for each of the visionaries, so it'll be like, and there's 2 ways to do it, because they have it based on killing them to break the loop, but then you can also track it based on like upgrading your abilities and stuff. So it'll be like, oh, like, go and kill this person here. They're on this map at this time of day. So this is the time you can go and kill them. But the thing is, right, you can only kill one person, or you can only kill all 8 of them if you catch multiple people in the same place at the same time. And the game doesn't tell you that you know that, but up front it only tells you where you can find each of them at one point. But like one of the characters that I killed, I found out was having an affair with one of the other characters, and that there's a map that at a certain time of the day, they're both there. So like now I'm realizing that what I'm really trying to do is figure out what is the way that I can get all 8 of them in 4 different interactions.
Yeah, so that's very much like Hitman, where
yes.
you would follow someone around, you'd case the joint because you've got maybe a specific way to kill them, or a specific place to get into, or a specific place you need to kill them where there's no one around. And it very much is a game of just like, you're not doing very much at times. You're just following someone around and listening to things or picking up bits of paper to read and find out clues and stuff like that. And I love that kind of game. I really do think, having heard what you've got to say about it, the Deathloop probably is for me. I think the marketing for this job seems to have done it a bit of a disservice, because I didn't get any kind of inkling from the marketing that there was any of this immersive sim stuff in there. It really just focused on the fact that you're going to be shooting people constantly and you're sliding around and like, isn't this fun? Like, you die, you go back to the beginning of the loop and you start all over. I don't feel like they really explained much about the game in the trailers and the marketing so far.
It's tough because, I don't know, I find myself really frustrated by the non-critical reaction to this game. The fact that there's this narrative of like, oh, we've seen too much of it. There's too many trailers. And I've seen people be like, oh, this game seems like basic. And it's just like, you weren't paying attention then, And I know that part of it is that I've played Dishonored and I know what Arcane games are like. So I came in with a certain level of expectation. And there were things in trailers.
Dishonored, and you assumed, though, that Prey was going to be like Dishonored, but it wasn't. It was a totally different game.
Yeah.
So people may have played Prey and assumed that this was going to be exactly like Prey because it's from the same studios, from Arcane.
That's the thing, though. I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, isn't this just an action game? And it's like, no, it isn't. You can play it like an action game, but it's not inherently an action game at all. And a lot of the obstacles are not meant to be tackled that way, At least not until later in the game when you're more powerful. Because that's kind of how I've seen it, or I'm seeing it now, is that it feels like it starts as a stealth game, and by the end of it, you're so powerful and you figured out the loop, and your cult is now uniquely equipped to take on the loop, that you become like a god and you can fuck everybody up because you know what's going to happen because you've done this hundreds of times and you made your plans. But the whole game is it's way more about making strategic decisions and planning things and thinking oh, if I go here, this person will follow me here. And it's all about manipulating the pieces on the board to get the outcome that you're looking for, whether that's to get a new weapon, learn a new piece of information, kill one of the visionaries, whatever it is. Right. And yeah, so, I mean, to me, I'm finding that to be so rewarding. And I think, if you walked away from the marketing thinking that this is a shooter, then you missed the point, and I'm not saying that that's your fault necessarily, because I think that this game is hard to market. It's hard to explain what it is because it's so many things.
Well, possibly, but I think if they had focused and honed in a little bit more on say the Hitman elements to it. I didn't know that you would plan basically a loadout in some overworld before you went somewhere else, and you went to these 4 districts, and there were 8 visionaries you had to take down. It never told you any of that. And maybe
they did tell you about the 8 visionaries you had to take down. That's the whole premise.
It might wanted to keep a lot of that a surprise, that you're going from place to place, and there's you're going to be playing each level 4 times because there's 4 times of the day that you need to go back at least. So I can understand wanting to keep some of that a surprise. I just don't feel like I really understood much about what the minute-to-minute stuff was going to be like, because from the marketing, at least from what I got and discerned, it was a lot faster paced than what I would describe Hitman as, which is following people around.
It definitely is a lot more faster paced than Hitman. It's it has similarities to Hitman, but it's not. I wouldn't say that those games are super analogous, because Hitman is, I think, a little bit slower in that way, whereas this game has a lot of slow, methodical elements, but a lot of it is also about high octane action and getting into fights and or you're doing something stealthy and then you get caught and you've got to run away, or you've got to get in a fight, and it's all of those things, and that's what makes it an immersive sim and not a stealth game or not an action game, right? It's both. The whole point
that's
of the
same.
game.
That is the same with Hitman, though. You would get caught and you would maybe go hide in a cupboard and wait for them to go, or you would put another outfit on so they wouldn't know who you were, or you just take them on and you fight them and you just shoot them all and you just deal with the fact that you basically just failed your mission.
Well, and that's the thing is it's not a failure to do it that way, right? I think the whole thing.
But you won't finish it because there's only 4 times you can kill, and then that's it, right?
Yes. So that's why you have to figure out how you can make characters be met up, and catch 2 of them at once or something like that.
Yeah, but I presume if you shot someone else because they'd caught you and you like had a gut reaction of fuck, I'm just gonna kill him, then that's one of your kills gone, right?
Well, it's not that you can only kill one; it's that they're all in different places. So like for example, right? Like in the morning, there are 2 of the visionaries are on different maps. So like I can't go and kill both of them in the morning, right? Because I can only go one place during the morning.
Okay.
But like I found out
so
that
all
2
of the
characters
maps
meet up in the evening.
Okay, I've got it. Yeah. So you're going to all of the districts at the same time of the day to kill them, but you just got to complete them. I guess you could plan to. You'd have to like look on the overworld and say, I'm going to go here in the morning, then this one in the afternoon, then this one in the evening, and take them all out. And there's probably an infinite number of possibilities on how you could do it. That's really cool. That wasn't really what I understood what was going on. I assumed you were going through some like, I don't know, some fucking portal or something, and it was like taking you to a map where all of them were on it at one point. But if they're not,
and I feel like that's a hard thing to communicate, like how that works and like how it makes sense in this this world and in this setup, just because I don't know, right? Like you kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Because you have like all these people complaining that we've seen too much of the game, but like, does everybody really want to see them walk through menus and be like, this is how you make your loadout before you go into a fight, and this is how you...
The Smash people do.
And the thing is, a lot of those things were shown in the trailers, but people just didn't get it or whatever, and it's like, I don't know, right? Like what... I don't know. It's tough. Like, I think this is a tough game to boil down and explain, because like there's not a lot of things that are analogous to it. It pulls a lot of ideas from a lot of different games, because it's like it has things in common with Hitman, it has things in common with Dishonored, it has things in common with Hades or whatever, right? But like, how do you articulate that in a way that is comprehensive and really shows you can't like, it's a very dynamic game, and that's what makes it special. That's what makes it an immersive sim, is that like it really isn't about how challenging anything is or anything like that. It's more like, well, how do you want to do this? And then how do you figure out how to do it the way you want to do it? And like, it's the kind of game that I think if you and I played it, a spoiler cast would be less about like, like this specific element of the story, and more like, well, what did you do here? How did you get past this? What weapons did you use? Like, what was your loadout? Like, oh, what order did you beat things in? Like, those are the questions that I think are really gonna be the thing that kind of contextualizes this for people, even though I do think that the story is good. Like, I really like the main character, Colt. He's really funny. Juliana and him have really good banter and back and forth. It's very funny. Juliana is a super interesting character who I'm really trying to figure out like what she's about, and why she's doing what she's doing. And I'm interested in the other visionaries and like what their deals are, because like one of them, I figured out his backstory last night, and I was like, this is insane. Like, and it's not the main story. It's like a little thing that like you just find through reading diary entries and finding these weird recordings he's made to himself, where like he's clearly kind of losing his mind, and like, yeah, I'm into it. Like it's got a weird amount of BioShock energy as well.
Well, that makes sense because Prey is a shock game, so
Sure.
It would make sense coming from that studio that would have similar energy.
Yeah.
Before you give final thoughts, my dad wanted to make it to the stream tonight, but he texted me saying it's too late, I'm going to be in bed. So he asked me to ask you a question about Deathloop.
Shoot.
Which he's just bought a PlayStation 5, so he's looking for games to play, and he wants to know if this, in your opinion, is worth the money, and if it's in any way infuriating, like 12 minutes was, because it's also a time loop game.
I would say it is emphatically worth your money. I am not far enough to stand by this opinion, but I am increasingly starting to think that this may be my favorite PlayStation 5 exclusive.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's bold.
I think that this game lives up to the hype. Like the 9s to 10s that it's getting all over the place, like I think that's warranted. I really do. Again, I have a lot more of the game to see. But I have a hard time thinking that there's anything that it can do to take away from the things that I am already rating it highly for. Like the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is thrilling, but I think just on a design level, this game is unbelievable. Like it's doing things and trying things that I've not seen any other game do before. and it's one of those games that shows that like there's still places for video games to go that we haven't gone yet. You know, it's truly unique. And yeah, it is nothing like 12 minutes.
But it is like Hitman, because Hitman is his favorite game franchise, I would say.
Yeah, I think if you like Hitman, I think there are things here that you will enjoy for sure.
Cool.
Absolutely.
And this is this one of the $70 games, or is
I think it's 60.
60? Yeah, because it's 60 in the UK, and I think it's because it's a Microsoft published title that it's 60.
I think that is the case. I'm pretty sure I spent $60 on it. Well worth your time.
Which in that
money.
case seems like a steal.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine I will be talking about this game for the weeks to come. So
most definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, we should say you are playing this on PS5, because I know a bunch of people have mentioned PC issues, stuttering, and like glitches and things like that.
And I know Arcane has acknowledged that they're working on it. A friend of mine has both the PC version and the PS5 version because he wanted to kind of compare them. And he said that he's experienced a lot of errors on the PC version, but nothing on the PS5. I also haven't seen any errors on PS5. So, you know, your mileage may vary, but for me, like as long as you're playing it in performance mode, it runs perfectly. Like I haven't had any issues with frame rate drop or anything like that.
That's what, 60 frames per second locked.
And it's got, I think it's got ray tracing and
nice.
Yeah, and it's 4K, so it's like it looks great. Like it doesn't need to be in graphics mode or whatever.
I never need it in graphics mode, because as soon as you put it in graphics mode, you're like, ugh, how did I ever play this? 30 frames a second. What is this? This is gross.
Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, Deathloop is unsurprisingly in the conversation for my game of the year, if you know anything about my tastes and my history with Arcane. So I highly recommend you check it out. I think that if you've never played Dishonored and like you've heard, you know, me or other people talk about Arcane and how special they are, this is a great place to jump on. I think it's probably more accessible than Dishonored in its style and its delivery. Maybe not in how complicated it is in certain ways, but I think the game does a really good job of holding your hand enough if you want it, so that it's, you know, you can kind of make those decisions yourself. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Anybody with a PS5, if you're missing out on this game, you're missing out on one of the best games of the year and one of the best games on the PlayStation 5. So pick it up. All right, so let's jump into the question block. We've got a couple here that we'll read before we close things out. If you are one of the folks in our Discord community or who follow us along on Twitter, we are going to kick our talking point this week on delays. We're going to actually delay our talking point on delays until next week or the next time we've got a slow period because, we talked about Deathloop a lot longer than I thought we were going to, and we've got a stream pretty soon. So we'll close it out on some question block questions, and then we'll come back with that topic next week or something. Thanks everybody who wrote in. We won't forget about you. All right. So this first one comes from one of our patrons, that Doc Guy, who wrote in and said, if you could become a professional at any video game, I'm talking world championship, world record speedrunner tier, what game would it be and why? Oh, and also, oh, no, this is the second question. Okay, fine. Pause that one. You go ahead.
Question. So I thought about this. There's two, and they are very, like, one of them probably seems, it's probably just because it's in my mind from recent memory. DDR. If I was good at DDR and I was like world championship level, I would look fucking hot because I would have like the body of an athlete. So I'd be great.
Are people doing that anymore though? Like, is there like an esports scene around DDR in 2021?
I don't know. And apparently Ray was saying in Japan there's still a huge following. So I'd be fine if I have to get super hot, move to Japan, become a DDR champion. I'm okay with that.
It would be so funny to me if you were like the only white person who was like a good DDR champ, you know what I mean? Because it's like only in Japan, and it's like this fucking British guy comes in and cleans up like every fucking year. Who is this guy? Like,
fine with that. The other one is Splatoon. I loved watching the Splatoon UK championships. You win that. Eventually, if you win the European ones, they fly you out to E3. You do the World Championships at E3.
Yeah.
They put you up in a hotel. You get to do all of that stuff. That's the dream. I mean, I know it's not thousands and thousands of pounds in sponsorship deals that you would get if you were an actual esports championship, but I would I would want to play a game I enjoy rather than one that I don't, and I suck at esporty games.
So I think my knee-jerk answer is Pokemon. Because like I love the Pokemon metagame. It's really one of the only competitive games I've ever actively tried to be good at, and like am actually good and have some level of natural skill. And I look at like people like Ray Rizzo or Wolf Glick or oh my god, my name's the dude who had the Pachirisu a couple years ago. Oh, well, I can't remember his name, but anybody who follows...
It's on the tip of my tongue, too.
I know you know it, Steve,
yeah.
Somewhere in the ether, Trendy Brendy is screaming it at the top of his lungs. Let me look this up. This is going to bother me.
We need to know.
I need to look this up, yeah. Pachirisu Championship. Who did this? It was the Masters from, like, years ago. Park was his name. Park Sejun. I think of guys like that, and... you know, a lot of them like won a world championship and then were able to like turn that into a career as like a Pokemon commentator, or like Wolf Glick just announced that he got hired to be a consultant on this Kickstarter game that is like a monster taming MMO type game.
Okay.
So like
you get really good. You get hired by Game Freak and Nintendo to consult on their games. That's what you want.
That'd be incredible, right? If I'm the world's best Pokemon player.
It's like, oh yeah, we're changing up the battle system and we need some consultation from the world's best Pokemon player.
The world's finest Pokemon master. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is like it wouldn't be a super, super lucrative career in terms of like going to championships and winning and stuff. But I feel like if you win and you become a world champion, you get a certain amount of like respect in the Pokemon community that I feel like that would be cool.
That's what you're after. Just some kudos. Yeah, you don't care about anything else.
Because like the alternative is like, yeah, because like the alternative is like what? Like if I play like League, like I don't really want to be a pro esports player. Right? Like, I don't want to play a game for, like, 10 hours a day and, like, you know, unless I just automatically had it and could turn it on and never have to practice. And...
That's what I'm interpreting Dot's question as. If you could become a professional at any video game. So
but I feel like I would still need to practice with my team and stuff. Like, if I really wanted to be on, like, a team and be, like, an A-tier player. And, like, I don't really want to do that, you know? Like, I want to just be so good that people, like, respect my game and, like, you know... oh, yeah, like, this is the crazy team that Pete brought to Worlds in 2021.
Well, that's why I think you probably need to do a single-player game then, you know? World speedrunner. You can do that, world record speedrunner. If you don't want to be practicing and doing it with a team, but you're that good overnight, you can now speedrun.
I feel like I still want to Pokemon speedrun. Baby, what's up?
Well, maybe.
Or maybe Shovel Knight.
Do Pokemon speedruns?
Yeah,
oh, Shovel Knight, we already know. You're already there. 41 minutes.
I beat it in a day. I bet. I would be interested to know what the world record is for that. I bet it's insane.
I'm looking up speedrun for Shovel Knight. I bet it's something ridiculously fast.
Yeah, it's probably like 20 minutes or something.
On PC, apparently it's 41 minutes and 52 seconds.
So I've got a ways to go on that one.
That's 100%.
Oh, okay.
No, 100% is 1 hour. 100% is an hour.
Damn.
Any percent, 41 minutes.
That's rough. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's my answer. I think it's Pokemon. I would love to be a Pokemon master. That's been my dream since I was but a boy. All right, and then question 2 from that doc guy is anybody on the team as excited for Deltarune Chapter 2 as I am? What a stupid question, Doc. Of course I'm as excited as you are. Have you met me? Are you kidding? Of course. Deltarune is like to think about how long ago it came out now and that we're finally getting Chapter 2. Like,
well, you know, I'm still so confused by it because I'm fairly certain he said it was all going to come out in one go.
He did.
It was like, this is the tease, and then you're going to get the rest of it. And now it's chapter 2, and it's like it's only coming out on PC and Mac at the moment. And the FAQ says there's no plans for a console port. And it's like, is this just another demo? Is this really chapter 2? Is this like the rest of the game?
It's definitely
There were
not
so
the
many
rest of the game.
questions.
Like, I'm pretty sure he said it was going to be like 5 chapters originally. My question is this free when it comes out? And if it is, did he put out this second chapter because the game has grown in size or scope a lot more than when we originally talked about it like 2 or 3 years ago? Or, like, is he going to put him out on PC as, like, alpha and, like, testing, and then the full version will come to consoles later? Like, I don't know.
But it did come later to consoles, if I remember, because I remember downloading Deltarune.
I thought they were day and date.
I thought I downloaded Deltarune before it was like announced that this is like a thing.
No, I'm pretty sure they came out the same day because I thought I played it on release day on Switch.
Okay.
Because I played it on Switch.
I've got it on my Switch, but I thought it came out
Steve,
on PC.
I have to replay the first chapter on PC.
Yeah. Oh no, it does say in the FAQs it doesn't matter if you don't have save data. All you need is just knowledge of the previous game.
Okay. I might replay
the saves
it
don't carry over at all,
which
is a bit disappointing.
I might replay it anyway.
But it does say in the FAQs because I would imagine a lot of people have played it on a PC and deleted the game and don't have their save anymore.
Yeah, or played it on Switch and now episode 2 isn't coming to Switch for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why Toby Fox does what he does or how he decides what he does. But I love
how he's so talented.
I love Toby Fox. He is truly one of my favorite artists across the board, like in any medium. I think he's just so talented. And for as long as he's making shit, I'm going to show up for it. That's where I'm at with him as a creator. So the fact that we're finally getting the second chapter in this story and the latest chapter in the Undertale Deltarune saga, whatever the hell it's going to be called in the long run, it's like, it's kind of hard to put into words how excited I am and like how eager I am to go back to this world and get a fresh piece of art that Toby made, you know?
Yeah. I understand. It does also say that you will need to play if you want save data. It says you can play Chapter 2 without save data as long as you generally remember what happened. Story-wise, it'll be fine. But completion data is generated when you see the credits in Chapter 1. Go to sleep in your bed at the end of the game.
Okay. Guess I gotta replay that game then.
I'm probably gonna just play Chapter 1 on Switch, and then I might play Chapter 2 on PC.
You've never played it, right?
I played a little bit of it, and I was like, this is very fucking different to Undertale. And I was like going in a car, and we were driving to school, and then I ended up going into a cupboard, and it wasn't really a cupboard, and I was somewhere else, and I was like, wow, okay, what's happened here? And then I just never finished it. Something else came out, I think. That's always the problem. There's always something else.
You got to focus, bud. You get distracted too quickly. You're like, a new game came out. I'm going to leave this one. Just finish the game you're playing and then get
Right, okay. Well, don't play Deltarune tomorrow. Finish Deathloop. And then you can go...
Here's the thing, Steve. No,
you got to focus, Pete.
Here's the thing, Steve.
You got to finish the game.
Here's the thing, Steve. You could throw that criticism at me if that was what I was like as a player. But are we going to... Do we need to pull up the receipts of how I stopped playing Persona 5 in the middle and you're like, you're never going back to that game. And then I went back and finished it. Or how I paused playing Mass Effect 2 so that I could play Ratchet and Clank.
No,
and then I came back and finished it right after that.
Be honest, though. If there was something else after whatever you paused Persona 4, would you have gone back?
There were other things. I just kept playing.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah. I don't know. I might play Deltarune. There's a bunch of other things I want to play, and if I can't play Chapter 2, because I do not think it will run on my Mac.
Why? If Chapter 1 runs, why wouldn't Chapter 2?
Oh, maybe. I don't know if I played it. Maybe I played Undertale then.
If that runs, then Deltarune should.
I can't fucking remember where I played what. But I re-downloaded Deltarune, so I must have played it on Switch at some point. So maybe I'm just misremembering that I ever played it on PC.
I played Undertale on PC originally, but Deltarune I definitely played on Switch. But I'm down to make that jump if I gotta. I'll do anything for Toby. That's my guy. All right, so our last question for the week comes from another one of our Patreon supporters. This one comes from Mr. Zaid Ida, who wrote in and said, hey guys, as always. Oh, and here, I'll say this. This question came in, I think, after we recorded the PlayStation thing last week, and I missed it until now, so sorry. Anyway, as always, hope all is well and you're living your best life. My question this week is, are Sony/PlayStation the kings of showcases? It seems to me that every time we get a PlayStation showcase, there's at least one announcement that either drops our jaws or, in my case, gets me off my feet yelling, yes, over and over again at the top of my voice, only for my neighbors to complain that I'm being too loud. Curious to hear your thoughts. Keep your games flipped. Homeowner, Zaid. I like that. Keep your games flipped. Keep it flipped.
I do too. I kind of think everyone's sort of on par at this point. Like Microsoft do good presentations as well. Like think about where Cyberpunk was revealed, and it was like that glitch thing at the end, and everyone was like, "This is before Cyberpunk was a car crash," and it was like really exciting. Like that was at a Microsoft event, and that was really cool. No one saw it coming. And so I do think that they have cool stuff as well. In terms of presentation, though, I've got to say the graphics and the like actual presentation on that last one that Sony did was phenomenal, and the previous ones as well. They're in those dark, well-lit rooms, and you have all the like cool PlayStation symbols, and like the PS5 reveal was similar. Do you remember with all those like balls and things that were like bubbling up?
Those animations
like, all the
were
shapes.
cool.
It looked really cool, so I love all of that. But I kind of feel like everyone's on the same page, and I know Zaid's a big Apple fan and watched the recent Apple presentation, and like if you're saying anyone's the king of presentations, Apple's like up here, and like everyone else is like there. Like in terms of production quality, it was like watching a fucking movie. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous to sell a new phone.
I wouldn't know. I've never ever watched one. Don't care.
You're not missing out on much, to be honest. If I'm perfectly honest.
I don't know. I think there's a reason that Zaid has this perception. Because I think by and large, I agree with you. Like, I think the console manufacturers are all like fairly neck and neck now. I would say Xbox was usually like at best they were number 2, but they were more often than not number 3. And it was always kind of like Nintendo has a big Nintendo game or Sony has a big Sony game and Xbox has a bunch of third party whatever.
Well, Xbox was the place for third parties at E3. It was, okay, you're not really showing up for E3, and this is the opening keynote. Is the opening to the entirety of E3 is Microsoft.
Sure. And that's not to disparage Xbox, because I think they've put out a lot of good presentations even in that era. But I am not surprised that most people walked away from them not being excited in the same way. You know?
Yeah.
Xbox, until very recently, I don't feel like had hype down very well, because they didn't have a lot of unique value propositions. Whereas now, like, all they need to do is come out and pound their chest about Game Pass or be like, we acquired 30 studios, here's 10 games that they've got coming. You know, like, they have such a war chest that they can leverage now that it's way easier for them to come out and be like, here's a hype fucking announcement. We're making an Indiana Jones game. Like, we're making this. We're doing this. Like, they have that fucking power behind them now that they just really didn't have historically. But that said, I don't know. Like, I think if you think about E3 for like the last 5-6 years, like as long as I've been paying attention to the industry closely, Sony was often the one that won the weekend. You know?
I mean, Sony hasn't been there for the last 3 years.
Yeah, that's true. And I think
like,
that's why.
And this is their alternative. This last presentation was their alternative to E3. And I think they made the right decision to pull out.
And I think this presentation was a strong alternative.
I do too, but the last E3 they were there, it was fucking diabolical. It was that, like, we're going into this weird ass fucking church,
4 different rooms,
which looks, it looks somewhat like the church that's in the game, and then we're going to take you through to this big tent and show you a few more trailers for games you've already seen, and it's like, really, that's your presentation? No wonder you pulled out the year after that.
I'll tell you what, though, controversial take. I liked that presentation. It wasn't the best one of the year, but that they were like, we have 4 huge games coming up and we're going to show you like 40 minutes of each of them. Like, I thought that was cool. I went and saw that in a movie theater as part of their like PlayStation experience. Like, you could go to it, you know, in different major cities or whatever. And I thought it was really cool. Like, it wasn't the best of the weekend.
Prior to that, like literally the year before, they just had their first and I think only PlayStation Experience convention, and they had like
they did a couple PSXs.
The Last of Us 2 like cast there, and they were like talking to them. They showed the next trailer for The Last of Us 2, and that was way cooler than what they did at E3. And I don't understand why they never really carried on with PSX. They kind of let them fizzle out, and they haven't done another one since, and they've replaced them with these PlayStation showcases. It was a really cool idea. Like, everyone loves PlayStation, everyone likes their IP and their cast and their characters, and this is just like a celebration of the fans, a celebration of everything that everyone loves about PlayStation. So why not keep doing it? I guess they couldn't in 2020 and
they stopped it before that, though. Like,
they did stop it before then.
2019 was the year they canceled it.
Yeah, 2018 I think was the last one.
Yeah,
which was the year before they pulled out of E3.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that's part of it too, though. Right? Is like Sony is pretty good about not saying anything if they don't have anything to say. Whereas, like, you know,
although this time though they kind of didn't do that, right? They showed Wolverine with no date. They've shown Spider-Man with a 2023 date.
I don't agree that that's nothing. Like, I really hugely take issue with that as a talking point. Like, I know that's like AJ feels that way, where he's like, oh, like, if you don't have like a date, if you don't have more than that, don't show it to me. I don't agree with that personally. I don't think you're wrong to feel that way, but like,
it does come to bite people though, because look at Metroid Prime 4. We saw a logo for Metroid Prime 4. Yeah. It got cancelled, started again, and they got, you know, egg on their face.
Yeah, but like,
that trailer.
But like, who cares? Like, how much did that actually matter? Like, aside from the people who are waiting for that game who are bummed, which that's significant, but like, are those people not going to buy Metroid 4 when it comes out? No, they're going to.
No, of course they will, yeah.
So it's like, to me, like, so what? It's like, yeah,
it will probably have a big knock on their stock price, so someone's going to care.
I mean, maybe, but like, will they? Like, I don't know. It's the thing. It's like, sometimes yes, right? Like, sometimes that is what happens. But like, I look at like Bayonetta 3. That was also announced in that same presentation. We still don't have it. Is that really a controversy?
That was announced at
or was that the E3
December that year? No, Metro Prime was announced at E3. That was announced at Game Awards.
Okay. I thought that was at the reveal event. My mistake.
No, because you had Reggie come on stage and he was like, Bayonetta 3's in production, and while you're waiting, here's the Bayonetta 2 and Bayonetta 1 repackage.
Okay, yes, you're right. Thank you. But point being that, like, I don't think you hurt anything by being like, this game is coming. Because, like, I remember when they did the reveal, it was the E3 for PlayStation, I think in 2013 or 14, where they revealed Horizon, they revealed God of War, they revealed No Man's Sky, a couple other games. Obviously didn't work out so well for No Man's Sky, but me knowing that Horizon and God of War were coming years earlier did nothing but increase my excitement for those games, because I saw Horizon's trailer and was like, this looks fucking incredible. Like, I am so interested in this world. If that game had come out and sucked, okay, great. That would have been a problem. But like, if it comes out and delivers, I don't know. I don't feel like that's a problem. But I don't know. Some people disagree, right? Look at the conversation around how much marketing we've seen for Deathloop and people complaining about that. Whereas like, for me, I'm like, okay, that doesn't bother me, because
yeah, but there's been other games where I've heard you say, like, I've seen enough of this game. I don't need to see anymore. I've already been sold.
And that's true. But like, me already being sold and being like, I don't need to see more, doesn't like that's never made me not buy a game, right? Like, it's only ever cemented like I think of like Death Stranding, where I was like, I don't want to see any more of this, and I was never gonna buy this game anyway. So like, at that point, I'm like,
I found out what the baby is in that.
Go away.
And it's like not what I thought it was.
Oh really?
I know too much. It's like,
don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. I don't want to spoil it for people. If there's the director's cut.
I'll tell you off mic.
Yeah, tell me off mic.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah, because people, I bet a lot of people are gonna play it for the first time when the director's cut comes out. So we won't. But Yeah, it's not to say that can't happen, but it's like I don't feel like that's ever negatively impacted a game to the point where I was like, oh, I'm no longer interested in it because they told me about it too early. Like, I think announcing that a Wolverine game by Insomniac is in development, that's a huge announcement, in my opinion. Some people might not agree, but, And I think Sony's better at that than anybody, of being like, here's something that's imminent, here's something that's coming in the next year or so, here's something that's 3 to 4 years away. And like having a pipeline of things to be excited for.
The problem comes when the pipeline's delayed, because at the moment they didn't have anything that was imminent. They would have had Horizon. That's been, I guess you could say that's imminent next year, but there's nothing in the middle. 2022 is still looking sparse, and none of the games they've got coming in 2022 are PS5 exclusives. Even like God of War, Horizon, Gran Turismo 7, they're all coming to PS4 as well. And I don't think that's a problem. I still don't think that there's a problem with cross-gen games whatsoever at this point.
Me neither. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'd say that they're the undisputed king, but I definitely get why you might feel that way. I
think of anyone though, I think that Nintendo's the king. Like, they just have to put a tweet out and it's like direct when. It's people who know and get hyped for those direct, and Nintendo knows. And it's not just necessarily the presentation itself, because the presentation itself, we've had directs and we've come away going like, that was crap.
Yeah.
And there was nothing there for anyone, really. We were really disappointed. And there's been ones where it's just been like, holy shit, no way. Especially when they do those like one more thing reveals at the end, where, it was like I think of the one where they revealed Smash, and you think, oh, what's this? More Splatoon stuff? And then all of a sudden it's like the Smash
logo in the eye.
It was so cool.
Or like I remember we watched the direct where they revealed Banjo, and it was like, oh, like, what the fuck?
Banjo direct,
yeah. Nintendo's really good at building hype. That's for sure. For sure. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that if it's not Sony, it's Nintendo, and I don't know. Like I might give it to Nintendo anyway. Because of what you said. Like, the Nintendo Direct is a thing in a way that nobody else's presentations are.
Yeah, so much so that everyone kind of aped the format. It was you've got PlayStation
State of Play.
I think you call it State of Play. Yeah, you had the Xbox Inside or Xbox On or whatever they call it now. Everyone like replicated the format that Nintendo basically
with less impact.
Yeah, with way less impact. So much so that loads of people just call it, oh, it's a PlayStation Direct. It's like,
sure.
Yeah, pretty much is.
Pretty much. Anyway, thanks to everybody who wrote in to this week's show. We really appreciate it. Thank you again to our Patreon producers, That Doc Guy, Zaid Ida, and Wakahula. Let us know what you think about who you think the master of presentations are, or what your excitement level is for Deathloop, any of that stuff, any of the stuff we discussed about on this week's show. Write in and let us know your thoughts in all the ways that I said earlier, which is, of course, following us on Twitter at FlipScreen Games, coming and joining our Discord, which we got a link to in the description down below, where you can come, continue the conversation with us offline. And then, of course, you can write into us at questions@flipscreen.games, just like Zaid did with this question.
No, Zaid wrote into Pete, and he needs to write into questions.
Oh, right. That was the problem. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so he didn't do it, but he wrote in, and we still read his question on there. So look at that. You can, even if you do it wrong, we'll read it probably. If
you don't want Pete to say it, just send it to me.
There you go. And then, of course, there's a myriad of other ways that you can get involved. The best way to show your support, of course, is to head over to patreon.com/flipscreengames, where for just $2 you can get access to one more thing, and a bevy of other really cool perks that I think are well worth your time. So go check that stuff out, show support however you can, and make sure you tune in next week for another episode of the Flip Screen Games podcast. We'll see you then.